screen fades in. A dark suburban street, streetlights flickering, faint whispers in the background. Hey there, thrill seekers. Welcome to a night you won't forget. 16 true horror stories that'll crawl under your skin and stay there. Picture this. It's 2 a.m. Your house is quiet, but something feels off. A knock at the door, a shadow in the woods, a voice on your phone that shouldn't be there. These aren't just tales. They're nightmares people lived through. From sleepy suburbs to haunted forests. In the next hour, you'll meet kids chasing ghosts, hikers facing creatures, and folks stalked by things that don't belong. Each story is a warning, a glimpse into the dark corners of everyday life. Could it happen to you? Stick around, because once you start, you won't look at your reflection the same way. These stories aren't for the faint of heart, but if you're brave enough, let's dive into the unknown together. Turn off the lights, lock the doors, and brace yourself. The first story's waiting, and it's closer than you think. This is my confession, scrawled in the dim flicker of a motel lamp, far from the life I once knew. My name is Caleb Matthews, 35 now. But in 2008, I was a 25-year-old private stationed at Fort Harrow, a forgotten army base in the Nevada desert. Fort Harrow wasn't on any tourist maps, just a cluster of concrete barracks and munitions bunkers, ringed by barbed wire, swallowed by miles of sand and sagebrush. We were a small unit, maybe 200 soldiers, tasked with guarding Cold War era, stockpiles and running drills under a sun that burned through your soul. By day, the base was all sweat and dust, the air shimmering with heat. But at night it changed, silent, heavy, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to slip through the cracks. I'd always kept a journal, a habit from my dad, who said writing was how you tamed the chaos. Back then, my entries were mundane. Complaints about the heat, sketches of the desert's jagged hills, or stories about Ryan Carter, my bunkmate, whose bad jokes kept us from losing it. Ryan was a lanky kid from Ohio, always grinning, always talking about his dream to open a bar back home. Then there was Elena Brooks, a sharpshooter with a quick wit and a stare that could cut glass. She manned the East Tower during my night shifts, her voice over the radio a lifeline in the dark. We were a tight crew, bound by the monotony of Fort Harrow, where the biggest enemy was boredom, or so I thought. That changed on my first night of perimeter duty, October 2008. I was assigned the East Fence, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., just me, my M16, and a radio clipped to my vest. The desert stretched out like an ocean, the stars so bright they felt closer than the ground. I liked the solitude at first. It gave me time to think, to imagine a life beyond the army, maybe college, maybe a family. My boots crunched on gravel, the only sound besides the faint hum of generators and the occasional yip of a coyote. I'd sweep my flashlight across the fence line, checking for breaches, my breath steady, my mind drifting. Around 1 a.m., the air shifted. It wasn't just the desert chill that comes when the sun's gone. It was a weight, like someone was standing behind me close enough to touch. My skin prickled, my hand tightening on my rifle. I spun around, flashlight cutting through the dark, expecting a jackrabbit or maybe a stray dog sneaking under the wire. Nothing. The desert was empty, the fence unbroken, but the feeling didn't leave. It grew, pressing against my chest, making my breath shallow. I turned slowly, scanning the horizon, and that's when I saw it. Out of the corner of my eye, a shadowy figure moved near the fence line, formless, blacker than the night itself. It wasn't a person, not an animal, just a mass, gliding without sound, maybe 50 yards out. My heart slammed against my ribs, my flashlight beam darting to catch it. But the light seemed to slide off, like the shadow was made of something that repelled it. I stood frozen, watching it drift along the fence, its edges blurring like smoke caught in a breeze. It didn't react to my light, didn't acknowledge the crunch of my boots as I took a step closer. My training screamed at me to report it, to do something, but my body wouldn't move. I grabbed my radio, my voice low. "This is Matthews, East Perimeter. Anyone else see something out here?" Static hissed. Then Elena's voice came through, calm but clipped. "Negative, Caleb. Just you and the stars, you good?" I wanted to say no, to tell her about the shadow, but what could I say? That I saw a blob of darkness that didn't belong? I checked again, but it was gone, swallowed by the night. "Yeah, I'm good," I lied, my eyes still scanning the fence. No one else saw anything, and the desert was quiet again. But it wasn't. Quiet in my head. That shadow had left a mark, a cold spot in my gut that wouldn't fade. I finished my shift, every rustle making me jump, my flashlight sweeping constantly. Back at the barracks, I pulled out my journal, my hand shaking as I wrote, Oct 12, 2008. Saw something by the east fence. Not human, not anything. Felt wrong. I didn't sleep that day. The shadow replaying in my mind, its formless shape, burned into my vision. I kept it to myself. Soldiers don't talk about ghosts. You'd be labeled crazy, sent for a psych eval, maybe pulled from duty. I couldn't risk that. Not when I was saving for a future outside the army. The next day, I tried to act normal. Ryan was at the mess hall, tossing me a beer from the non-alcoholic stash, his grin wide. "You look like shit, Caleb. Night shift got you spooked?" I forced a laugh, but my eyes kept drifting to the windows, to the desert beyond. "Just tired," I muttered, sipping the warm beer. Ryan didn't push, but I caught him watching me like he sensed something was off. Elena was no help. She was all business during drills, her scope trained on the horizon, her radio chatter short. I wanted to ask if she'd ever seen anything weird, but the words stuck in my throat. Fort Harrow had stories. The kind soldiers swap over MREs to kill time. Whispers of strange lights in the desert, voices in the empty barracks. A private who vanished during a night drill in the 90s. I'd always laughed them off, chalking it up to boredom or bad whiskey. But now those stories felt too real. I volunteered for more night shifts, telling myself I needed to know, to prove it was just my eyes playing tricks. Deep down, I knew better. The shadow wasn't a trick. It was a warning, and I was too stubborn to listen. The desert has a way of breaking you. It's not just the heat or the isolation, it's the vastness, the way it swallows sound, light, sanity. Fort Harrow was its own kind of beast, its concrete walls stained with decades of secrets. The generators hummed off-key at night, a low drone that burrowed into your skull. The floodlights cast shadows that moved when they shouldn't, too sharp, too alive. I started noticing things, scratches on the fence, too high for a coyote, a flicker in the tower's lights when no one was there. I wrote it all down, my journal becoming a record of something I couldn't name. By the third night I was wired, my nerves frayed like old rope. I patrolled the east fence, my flashlight sweeping in arcs, my radio heavy on my vest. Around 2 a.m., it happened again. The shadow was back, closer this time, maybe 30 yards from the fence. It didn't drift. It moved with intent, its form pulsing, like it was breathing. I froze, my breath fogging in the cold that shouldn't have been there. I radioed Elena. "Brooks, you got eyes on the east side?" She scanned, her voice steady. "Nothing but sand, Matthews. You okay?" No one saw it, but it was there. And I swear it turned toward me, like it knew I was watching. Then it vanished, leaving only the desert and my pounding heart. I didn't tell Ryan or Elena, but I sketched the shadow in my journal. A rough smear of pencil, no face, no form. It was real, and it was watching me. Fort Harrow wasn't just a base. It was a trap, and I was caught. The desert doesn't sleep, and neither did I. I'm Caleb Matthews, and Fort Harrow was carving itself into me night by night. My journal was no longer just thoughts. It was a battlefield. Pages filled with sketches of the shadow, timestamps of its appearances, questions with no answers. The shadow wasn't a one-time thing. It was a ritual, and I was its witness. Ryan noticed the change, his jokes falling flat. "You're starting to look like death, Caleb," he said one morning, tossing me a protein bar in the mess hall. His grin was forced, his eyes flicking to the windows, to the desert that seemed to watch us back. I wanted to tell him, but how do you explain something you don't understand? The shadow came every night now, always around 2 a.m. It would appear near the fence, formless, moving with a purpose I couldn't grasp. It glided along the barbed wire, sometimes pausing, as if inspecting the base, its edges shifting like liquid ink. My flashlight was useless. The beam seemed to bend around it like the shadow was a hole in reality. I'd stand there, heart pounding, my rifle heavy in my hands, watching it move. I'd call Elena on the radio. "Brooks, anything on your scope?" Her voice would crackle back, steady but annoyed. "Nada, Caleb. You sure you're not seeing things?" No one else saw it. Not the tower guards, not the patrols. I'd check the fence after it vanished, looking for tracks, marks, anything. Nothing but sand and silence. The cold was the worst part. Not the desert's chill, but a deeper cold. Like the shadow was pulling the warmth from my bones. It lingered after each sighting, a reminder that it wasn't just in my head. I started avoiding the east fence, sticking closer to the barracks, but it didn't matter. The shadow followed. One night, it appeared inside the perimeter near a storage shed, its form sharper, almost human but wrong, too tall, too fluid. I radioed Elena, my voice barely a whisper. "Brooks, it's inside the fence." She scanned with her scope, her tone sharp. "Caleb, there's nothing there. Get a grip." No one saw it, but it was there, watching me. I backed away, my rifle raised until it melted into the dark, leaving me shaking in the sand. I couldn't keep it in anymore. At the mess hall, I pulled Ryan aside, my journal open to a sketch of the shadow. "You ever feel like this place is wrong?" I asked, my voice low. He glanced at the drawing, his jaw tight. "It's just a base, Caleb. Old, creepy, but that's it." But he didn't look at me, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. I pushed the sketch closer. "I see this every night, Ryan. It's not nothing." He shoved the journal back, his voice hard. "Stop messing with that shit, man. You're gonna lose it." But his eyes lingered on the page, and I saw doubt, maybe fear. Elena was harder to crack. I caught her by the armory, her cigarette glowing, the dusk. "You ever see anything weird out here?" I asked, keeping it casual. She exhaled, her eyes narrowing. "Desert's full of ghosts, Matthews. Doesn't mean they're real." But she paused, her voice dropping. "Last year, a guy in Bravo Company swore he saw something. Got sent to psych. Be careful." Her words hit like a punch. I started asking around, discreetly, talking to older soldiers over cards or coffee. They shared stories. Lights in the desert, whispers in the empty barracks, a private who vanished during a night drill in '97. None of it was in the official logs, but it was enough to make my skin crawl. By the end of October, I was a wreck. My shifts were torture, the shadow's appearances more frequent, more brazen. Would linger near the fence, sometimes splitting into two, then merging again. I stopped calling it in. Elena was losing patience, and I didn't want a psych eval on my record. But I couldn't ignore it. One night, I found scratches on the fence, shallow but precise, like claw marks too high for any animal. I snapped photos with my cheap digital camera, showed them to Ryan. He went pale, his voice barely audible. "Could be a coyote," he said, but we both knew it wasn't. I added the photos to my journal along with a note. "It's leaving marks. It's real." The bass felt different now, like the air was thicker, the shadows sharper. The generators. Hum was a constant drone burrowing into my skull. The floodlights flickered at odd hours, casting shapes that didn't match their sources. I started seeing the shadow in daylight. A flicker at the edge of my vision, gone when I turned. I stopped sleeping. My bunk a prison where nightmares waited. Ryan moved his stuff to another bunk, saying he needed space, but I knew he was scared. Elena's radio chatter grew curt, her eyes avoiding mine. I was alone. The shadow my only companion, its cold presence a weight I couldn't shake. Fort Harrow was no longer a base. It was a cage, and I was trapped. I'm Caleb Matthews, and the shadow had become my shadow. A hunter that knew my every. My journal was a war zone. Pages torn, ink smudged from sleepless nights. Ryan wouldn't look at me anymore, his bunk empty, his laughter gone. Elena's radio responses were cold, her voice a wall I couldn't breach. I was alone, the shadow's cold grip tightening, its presence a promise of something I couldn't face. By November, I was running on fumes, coffee, adrenaline, and fear. The shadow wasn't just a nightly ritual, it was relentless, appearing, closer, bolder. It would move near the floodlights, its formless mass pulsing like it was alive. The cold came with it, a bone-deep chill that made my breath fog even in the desert's dry heat. I'd stand at my post, rifle shaking, watching it drift, sometimes splitting into fragments, then reforming, like it was taunting me. I stopped, writing full entries, just fragments. Nav 3204 AM, closer, saw it split. Cold. My sketches were frantic, the shadow's form growing sharper, almost human, but wrong. One night, it crossed a line. Around 2 AM, it came too close. Right. In front of me, maybe 10 feet away. It didn't glide. It stood, its mass solid, a void that swallowed the floodlight's glow. I felt that cold, like my life was draining, my heart slowing, my lungs starving. It had no eyes, no face, but it saw me, its presence a weight that crushed my will. My rifle slipped, my knees buckled, and I hit the sand, gasping. It stood there and I couldn't move, couldn't scream, the cold pulling at my soul. I don't know how long it lasted, seconds, minutes. But when it vanished, I was shaking, my flashlight dead, my radio silent. I crawled back to my post, my body heavy like I'd aged a decade. I didn't radio it in. No one saw it. No one ever did. What was the point? Elena would think I was cracking and Ryan was already gone, emotionally if not physically. I sat there until dawn. The desert's first light a cruel reminder of my fragility. My journal entry was one line. It's not just watching, it wants something. The next day, I broke. I marched to Major Whitaker's office, a squat building, lined with maps and medals. Whitaker was a tank of a man, his face carved from stone, his patience thin. I told him about the shadow, keeping it vague. No talk of cold or life-draining voids. "Sir, I've seen something on the east perimeter, every night. It's not an animal, not a person." He leaned back, his eyes hard. "Matthews, you're burned out. Desert does that. Take a week, see the doc." I pushed, my voice rising. "It's real, sir. I'm not the only one." He cut me off, his voice like gravel. "You're not the first to see shadows out here, won't be the last." Dismissed. His words stopped me cold. Not the first? I wanted to demand answers, but his stare shut me down. The doc was no help. Prescribing pills I flushed down the sink. I needed answers, not sedatives. I started digging, sneaking into the base library after hours, a dusty room of manuals and old logs. I found fragments, reports from the 80s. Soldiers mentioning anomalies, unexplained deaths labeled accidents. One log mentioned a fire in '92. A barracks burned down, 3 soldiers lost, cause undetermined. I showed my notes to Ryan, cornering him by the motor pool. He snapped, his voice low. "Caleb, you're obsessed, let it go." But he didn't look at me, his hands shaking as he lit a cigarette. Elena was worse. She told me to stop asking questions, her voice barely a whisper. "This place doesn't like being poked, Matthews." I couldn't stop. The shadow was everywhere now, a flicker in the barracks, a shape in the mess hall's windows. I saw it in daylight, a blur at the edge of drills, gone when I blinked. My shifts were hell. The shadow's appearances a countdown to something I couldn't name. One night it stood closer than ever, its form almost solid, and I felt that cold again, like my soul was slipping away. I shouted, "What do you want?" My voice echoed unanswered, the shadow vanishing into the sand. I collapsed, my vision swimming, the desert spinning around me. Fort Harrow didn't just haunt me, it broke me piece by piece. I'm Caleb Matthews, and the shadow wasn't a ghost. It was a chain, binding me to a truth I wasn't ready for. My journal was full, pages spilling with sketches, timestamps, and fears, but no answers. Ryan was a stranger now, his bunk empty, his eyes avoiding mine. Elena's radio went silent. Her shifts changed to avoid me. I was alone, the shadow my only constant, its cold a reminder that I was running out of time. I stopped sleeping. My bunk a trap where nightmares waited. The shadow was everywhere, flickers in the barracks, shapes in the desert's haze. I started breaking rules, sneaking into the records room after curfew, my flashlight shaking as I sifted through dusty files. One night I found it, a folder labeled Closed Incidents 2005, buried in a box of forgotten reports. It was about Private Aaron Kessler, a soldier who died in a training accident. Kessler had reported a shadow just like mine, formless and cold, before he died. His reports were chilling. "It watches me. It's not human. I feel it taking something." The file dismissed it as stress-induced hallucination, but I knew the truth. Kessler saw what I saw, and it killed him. I showed the file to Elena, catching her outside the armory, my voice desperate. "Read this, Brooks, it's real." She scanned the pages, her face paling. "Caleb, you need to stop. This place, it doesn't let go." She handed it back, her hands trembling. "Burn it. Walk away." But I couldn't. I confronted Ryan, shoving the file in his face. He pushed it away, his voice low. "You're gonna get us all in trouble, man. Let it go." But his eyes betrayed him. He was scared, maybe more than me. The shadow was relentless, appearing even in daylight. A flicker at the edge of drills, a shape in the mess hall's windows. One night, it stood right in front of me, closer than ever, and I felt that cold, like my life was draining away. I collapsed, my vision blackening, waking hours later in the infirmary, the doc muttering about dehydration. I knew it was the shadow. I went to Major Whitaker, my last hope. The Kessler file clutched in my hand. "Sir, this is happening again. Kessler saw it and now me." He didn't blink, his voice flat. "Old news, Matthews. You're done here." My discharge papers came the next day, honorable but final, like a door slamming shut. I left Fort Harrow in January 2009, my journal tucked in my duffel. The shadows cold still in my bones. I burned the sketches, but not the memories. I'm convinced it was a spirit, maybe Kessler's or something older tied to the base. I live quietly now, in a small town far from deserts and uniforms, but the shadow lingers. I feel it sometimes, chill in the dark, a flicker in the corner of my eye. Fort Harrow taught me that some places are alive and they don't let go. If you've seen something that changed you, share it below. Like and subscribe for more stories that'll make you question the dark. The cedar cabin sat nestled in a dense pine forest, its windows glowing faintly against the endless dark of Blackwood Ridge. Owen Walsh, a 29-year-old freelance writer, had moved here 6 months ago, seeking solitude to finish his novel. This isolation was a balm after years in the city. But tonight, as a storm rumbled in the distance, the forest felt alive, its whispers too close. Owen was alone, reading by the fire, when a faint tap on the living room window broke the silence. He froze, his book slipping to the floor, the sound unnatural in the quiet night. Owen wasn't prone to panic. A skeptical man, he'd laughed off local tales of Blackwood's haunted past, stories of lost hikers and strange figures in the woods. But the tap came again, sharper, deliberate. He stood, heart thudding, and peered through the curtains. There, in the dim glow of the porch light, stood a man in a white mask, his eyes black voids, a knife in his hand, tapping the glass rhythmically. Owen's breath caught, the sight ripping through his calm like a blade. Owen's pulse roared as he ducked below the window, his mind scrambling for logic. The man's mask was featureless save for jagged red lines, like blood smeared in a ritual pattern, and he stared through the glass, unblinking. The tapping grew louder, each strike a taunt, as if the man knew Owen was there. Owen crawled to the sofa, hiding, his breath shallow, praying the locked doors would hold. He fumbled for his phone, but the signal was dead. Blackwood spotty. Service a curse tonight. The man's silhouette loomed, the knife glinting as he pressed closer to the window. Owen noticed a symbol etched on the mask's edge, a crescent moon, crude but deliberate. It sparked a memory of a news story he'd read months ago, about a string of break-ins in nearby towns, linked to a cult-like group marked by moon symbols. Was this one of them? His fear deepened, no longer just about a random intruder, but a calculated threat. The tapping stopped, replaced by a low scrape, like the knife testing the window's frame. Owen's hands shook as he crawled to the landline, the only lifeline in the cabin. He dialed 911, whispering his address, his voice barely steady as the operator promised help. The scraping at the window turned to a thud, the man now prying at the frame, the glass creaking under pressure. Owen's heart pounded, the cabin no longer a sanctuary, but a cage. He grabbed a fireplace poker, its weight a small comfort, and crouched in the dark, eyes locked on the window. The man's mask tilted, as if sensing Owen's defiance. Then, silence, deafening, worse than the tapping. Owen peered out, seeing nothing but darkness. Had he left? A faint creak from the back door answered, the sound of a lock being tested. Panic surged, but headlights suddenly pierced the night. Police, faster than expected in Blackwood. The man vanished, leaving only footprints in the mud, no trace of his knife or mask. Owen collapsed, relief tainted by dread, the crescent moon symbol etched in his mind. The police searched the woods, finding only the footprints, no suspect. Owen lived in fear, checking windows and doors obsessively, the memory of the masked man a constant shadow. He dug into Blackwood's history, uncovering a chilling lead. A decade ago, a cult had operated in the forest, their members wearing moon-marked masks, targeting reclusive residents. The group was never dismantled, its leaders vanishing. Was The man one of them, or a copycat? Owen's cabin, once a refuge, now felt like a target. He installed cameras, kept a bat by his bed, and joined an online forum of locals with similar encounters. Masked figures, moon symbols, always at night. The fear reshaped him, his novel abandoned, his solitude now a burden. Sometimes he'd wake to a faint tap, the sound imagined or real. He couldn't tell. Was the man still out there, watching? The mask, the knife, the moon. They were pieces of a puzzle Owen might never solve, a reminder that some dangers linger in the dark. The modest ranch house on Cedar Lane was a haven of warmth, its walls lined with family photos and Sophie's colorful drawings. Daniel Pierce, a 27-year-old graphic designer, had moved in with his girlfriend Lily 3 months ago, embracing her tight-knit family. Lily's 11-year-old sister, Sophie, who had autism, filled the house with her quiet intensity. Her world a puzzle Daniel was still learning to navigate. But lately, Sophie's behavior had shifted. She'd stare into empty corners, her eyes fixed on something unseen, her face pale. Tonight, as rain pattered against the windows, Daniel felt a chill, the house's coziness fraying at the edges. Sophie was nonverbal at times, communicating through gestures or art, but her recent stillness was different, almost eerie. Daniel and Lily had grown used to her routines, rocking gently, humming softly. But this felt like something else. She'd whisper phrases like, "They're waiting," her voice flat, unprompted by any context. Daniel brushed it off as part of her condition, but Lily's furrowed brow told him she felt it too. The house, once a sanctuary, now held a quiet tension, as if Sophie's gaze was pulling something unseen into their lives. The next few weeks deepened Daniel's unease. Sophie's staring grew more intense, her eyes locked on the living room's far corner as if someone stood there. She'd sit for hours, her sketchbook untouched, her usual spark dimmed. One night she screamed, a piercing sound, pointing at the empty corner, shouting, "They're there!" Daniel and Lily rushed to her, hearts pounding, but saw nothing, just the familiar furniture bathed in lamplight. Sophie's face was wild, her hands trembling as she repeated, "They're there, they're waiting." Lily held her, whispering comforts, but Daniel's skin prickled, the air heavier than it should be. He started noticing details about the house, a faint creak in the attic, a cold spot near Sophie's corner. Lily mentioned the previous owners, an elderly couple who'd left abruptly, their belongings still in storage. Daniel found a box in the basement, filled with old photos and a journal hinting at unwanted guests in the house. Sophie's drawings, once abstract, now showed shadowy figures with hollow eyes, their outlines eerily similar to the journal's descriptions. Was Sophie's autism amplifying her sensitivity to something real, or was it all coincidence? Daniel's skepticism wavered, the line between imagination and reality blurring. One stormy night, the tension snapped. Sophie sat in her room, rocking furiously, her eyes darting to the ceiling. She grabbed a crayon and drew frantically, producing a chilling sketch. Tall, shadowy figures with hollow eyes standing in a circle. Daniel's stomach dropped as he saw it, the figures matching the journal's cryptic warnings. Sophie whispered, "They're in the house," her voice certain, her finger pointing to the attic. Daniel and Lily exchanged a glance, fear rooting them in place. Was Sophie imagining this, or was she seeing something they couldn't? Daniel climbed the attic stairs, flashlight in hand, the air thick with dust and something heavier. He found nothing but old furniture, until he spotted a hidden panel in the wall. Inside was a bundle of letters written by the previous owners, describing watchers who appeared at night, tied to a tragedy in the house's past, a fire that killed a family, their grief lingering. Sophie's sensitivity, Her unique perception seemed to bridge their world and something else. The realization hit Daniel hard. Sophie wasn't trapped in her mind. She was a conduit, her autism amplifying a truth no one else could see. Daniel and Lily decided to act. They moved Sophie to a therapist skilled in autism, hoping to understand her visions, and contacted a historian to research the house's past. The drawings haunted Daniel, their eerie accuracy a constant reminder of Sophie's words. The historian confirmed the fire, revealing the family's descendants had reported similar watchers, suggesting a lingering presence tied to the land. Sophie's behavior stabilized, but her sketches never stopped, each one a window into something beyond. Daniel couldn't shake the question. Was Sophie seeing ghosts, or was her mind weaving stories from fragments of the past? He and Lily grew closer, their love for Sophie an anchor, but the house felt different, its corners holding secrets. They installed lights, checked locks, and kept Sophie close, her sensitivity a gift and a burden. Sometimes Daniel caught her, staring, a faint smile on her lips as if she knew more than she could say. Were the watchers still there, waiting? The drawings, the journal, Sophie's whispers, they were threads of a mystery that might never unravel, a reminder that some truths lie just beyond reach. Video opens with shaky footage, a man's face lit by a phone's flashlight, eyes wide, breath uneven. Okay, this is Nathan Reed. It's 1:47 a.m., June 12, 2015. I'm in my car just outside Blackwood Forest, Oregon. I don't know how to say this without sounding crazy, but I saw something out there. Something that wasn't human. I'm recording this because I need to get it out. Need to make sense of it. If you're watching, don't go into Blackwood at night. Just don't. It started as a dumb idea. Me, Lauren Hayes, and Marcus Cole, we're old college buddies, decided to camp in Blackwood for a weekend. It's this huge forest, all pines and fog, the kind of place you go to feel small. We'd heard the stories, local legends about weird lights, animals acting strange, but we laughed it off. Lauren's a biologist, always rational, said it was just hikers hyping things up. Marcus, he's the thrill seeker, thought it'd be fun to scare us with ghost stories. Me? I just wanted a break from my desk job, some fresh air, a few beers by the fire. We set up camp a mile in near a creek, our tents glowing under the stars. Saturday night, we stayed up late, roasting marshmallows, swapping stories. Around midnight, Lauren crashed, her snores echoing from her tent. Marcus and I kept talking, the fire crackling, the forest quiet except for the occasional owl. Then Marcus got this look, like he'd just had the best idea ever. "Let's go for a walk," he said, grabbing a flashlight. I wasn't thrilled. Blackwood at night felt off, like the trees were listening, but I didn't want to look like a coward. So we went, leaving Lauren asleep, our flashlights cutting through the dark. The forest was a maze, pines looming like giants, their needles muffling our steps. We wandered maybe half a mile, joking to keep the nerves at bay. Marcus was mid-story, about some Bigfoot hoax when I felt it, a shift like the air got heavier, colder. I stopped, my flashlight sweeping the trees. "You hear that?" I asked. Marcus frowned. "Hear what?" But he froze too, his beam darting around. The forest was too quiet, no owls, no wind, just this wait. Then I saw it, maybe 20 yards away, half hidden by a pine. A creature tall and gray stood between the trees. It was thin, maybe 8 feet tall, its limbs long and bony, its skin like ash under the moonlight. No face, no eyes, just a blank smooth surface where a face should be. My stomach dropped, my breath caught. It didn't move, just stood there, its presence a silent scream. Marcus saw it too, his flashlight shaking. "What the hell is that?" he whispered, his voice breaking. I screamed, a raw, panicked yell, and the creature bolted, vanishing into the forest with unnatural speed. Its limbs moved wrong like a spider's, too fluid, too fast. Marcus grabbed my arm, yelling, "Run!" We sprinted, branches snapping, our flashlights bouncing wildly. I don't know how we found the trail, but we didn't stop until we hit the campsite. Lauren was awake, bleary-eyed, yelling, "What's wrong?" We didn't answer, just packed our gear, hearts pounding, and ran for the car. I drove, tires screeching, Marcus and Lauren shouting questions I couldn't answer. All I could see was that gray thing. Its blank face burned into my mind. Back in town, we didn't talk much. Lauren tried to rationalize it. Maybe a bear, maybe our eyes playing tricks. Marcus wasn't buying it, his usual bravado gone. I dropped them at their Airbnb and came here to this empty parking lot to record this. I can't go back to Blackwood, not ever. My hands are still shaking, my chest tight. That thing wasn't an animal, wasn't human. It was something else, something that doesn't belong. The next day, I did some digging, asked around at a local diner. The waitress, an older woman with tired eyes, overheard me. She leaned in, voice low. She told me about the Gray Man, a creature locals have seen in Blackwood for decades. Hunters, hikers, even kids. They've reported a tall gray figure, always at night, always gone before you can get close. Some say it's a spirit, others a cryptid, but everyone agrees it's not friendly. One guy, a hunter, said he saw it. In '98, felt like it was watching him, waiting. I don't know what it is, but I know what I saw. Blackwood changed me. I don't sleep right anymore. Keep seeing that gray shape in my dreams, standing just out of reach. If you've been to Blackwood, if you've seen the Gray Man, drop your story in the comments. Like and subscribe for more real horror, the kind that follows you home. I'm Nathan, and I'm never going back. The whispering pines stretched endlessly beyond the sleepy town of Hollow Creek, their gnarled branches weaving a canopy that swallowed the stars. Caleb Reed, a 24-year-old biology student, and his childhood friend Nora Kane, a photographer with a knack for adventure, had planned this camping trip for weeks, eager to escape the grind of midterms and deadlines. Their campsite, nestled deep in the forest, was a clearing ringed by ancient oaks, the air thick with the scent of moss and earth. As dusk settled, they set up their tent, unaware of the eyes watching from the shadows. The forest, alive with the hum of crickets, seemed to pulse with a secret, its beauty masking something older, darker. Caleb and Nora were no strangers to the outdoors, having hiked these trails since they were kids. Hollow Creek's locals spoke of the pines with reverence, whispering tales of guardians who roamed the woods. But Caleb dismissed them as folklore, his scientist's mind grounded in facts. Nora, more open to mystery, teased him, her camera, ready to capture anything unusual. Yet, as the fire crackled and the night deepened, a chill settled over the clearing, the forest's song turning discordant, as if warning them to leave. The fire had dwindled to embers when Caleb stirred, a strange sound pulling him from sleep. A sharp, hissing noise, like wind through broken glass, echoed through the trees. He nudged Nora, who was already awake, her eyes wide in the dark. "You hear that?" she whispered, clutching her flashlight. They stepped outside, the beam cutting through the fog that had rolled in, thick and unnatural. Then they saw it. A tall white figure, impossibly thin, darting between the oaks, its movements jerky, yet silent. It had no face, just a smooth expanse where features should be, and glowing eyes that burned like twin stars. Caleb's heart slammed against his ribs, his breath shallow. Nora gripped his arm, her camera forgotten. The creature paused, its head tilting as if studying them, before vanishing into the dark. The hissing grew louder, now joined by a low hum that vibrated in their bones. Caleb's mind raced. Animal hallucination or something else. He recalled a local legend about a white wraith, a spirit tied to the pines, but science offered no answers here. Nora pointed to a symbol carved into a nearby tree, a spiral with jagged edges, ancient and deliberate. Was it connected to the creature? The forest felt alive, its shadows closing in. Panic surged as the hum intensified, the forest itself seeming to pulse with malice. Caleb and Nora bolted for the tent, their footsteps muffled by the fog, the creature's presence a weight at their backs. It shadowed them, a flicker of white in the periphery, its eyes glinting through the trees. They dove inside, zipping the flap, their breaths ragged. The hissing circled the tent closer now, as if the creature was toying with them. Nora clutched her knife, Caleb his flashlight, both useless against something so alien. The air grew, colder, the tent's walls trembling under an unseen force. At dawn, the sound stopped, the fog lifting to reveal a changed forest. They found massive footprints near the tent, too long and narrow to be human, etched deep into the earth. Caleb's blood ran cold as he noticed more spiral symbols on nearby trees, forming a path deeper into the pines. Nora's research later uncovered a chilling truth. Decades ago, a secret lab in Hollow Creek had experimented with biological anomalies, rumored to have released prototypes into the forest. Was the creature one of them, or something older, awakened by the lab's hubris? The realization shook Caleb. This wasn't just folklore, it was a warning, and they'd stumbled into its domain. Caleb and Nora packed up, fleeing the pines as the sun rose, their nerves frayed. Back in Hollow Creek, the feeling of being watched never left, a shadow lingering in their minds. They dug into the town's history, finding whispers of the lab's experiments, creatures designed for surveillance, abandoned when funding dried up. Locals spoke of sightings, always at night, always white, always silent. Caleb couldn't stop seeing those glowing eyes, questioning if the creature was real or a trick of fear. Nora's photos from the trip showed nothing but blurs, yet she swore she'd seen it move. The experience changed them. They joined a group of researchers, determined to uncover the truth about the pines, their respect for nature now tinged with fear. The forest haunted their dreams, its secrets a weight they couldn't shake. Caleb wondered if the creature was still out there, guarding its territory, or if it had followed them home. The spirals, the footprints, the hissing. They were fragments of a mystery too vast to solve, a reminder that some places hold truths humanity was never meant to know. Blog post dated April 17, 2025 by Isaiah Carter. I'm 34 now, with a desk job and a mortgage, but some nights I'm still that scared 12-year-old, running through the halls of Crestview apartments, chasing a shadow that shouldn't exist. In 2003, my friends and I thought we were ghost hunters, but we found something real, something that still haunts me. This is my story, and if you've ever seen something you can't explain, stick around. Crestview was a crumbling brick complex in Chicago, all flickering lights and peeling paint, where kids like me, Zoe Patel, and Malik Jones ruled the halls. We were the kings of summer, biking through courtyards, sneaking onto rooftops, and swapping stories about the faceless man. Everyone said a tall, faceless figure haunted the stairwells and hallways, a shadow that watched but never spoke. Ms. Evelyn Ross, the building manager, called it nonsense, but even she locked her office at dusk. We were hooked. Zoe, the brains, rigged a clunky camcorder with duct tape. Malik, the daredevil, carried a baseball bat just in case. I was the planner, mapping out the building's maze of stairs and laundry rooms. We called ourselves the Shadow Chasers, meeting in my family's cramped living room, plotting our hunt. The adults laughed, but we saw their eyes dart to the stairwell, their steps quicken after dark. Crestview wasn't just old, it was alive, its walls humming with secrets we were too young to understand. Our first hunt was July 10th, 2003. We waited until 10 p.m., when the building settled into a restless quiet. Armed with flashlights and Zoe's camcorder, we crept to the 7th floor, where the lights always flickered. The air was thick, like the building was holding its breath. We turned a corner and froze. A tall, faceless figure stood at the end of the stairwell, motionless, its silhouette sharp against the dim bulb. It was over 6 feet, its body thin, no eyes, no mouth, just a void where a face should be. My heart slammed against my ribs. Zoe's camcorder shook, and Malik's bat clattered to the floor. We screamed, our voices echoing, and bolted down the stairs, the figure vanishing as we ran. We didn't stop until we reached my apartment, slamming the door, gasping. My mom thought we'd been mugged, but we couldn't explain, just babbled about the shadow. She checked the stairwell, found nothing, and grounded me for a week. But we knew what we saw. The camcorder caught only static, like the figure erased itself. We were terrified, but kids are stubborn. We had to go back. The Shadow Chasers didn't quit. Every few nights we'd sneak out, hearts pounding, searching for the faceless man. It appeared again and again, always in stairwells or dark corners, always still, always gone when we screamed. Each time the air grew colder, the lights dimmer, like the building was part of it. Zoe swore it was a ghost, Malik thought it was an alien, and I just wanted answers. We started noticing things. Scratches on stairwell walls, a hum in the air before it appeared. Ms. Ross caught us once, her face pale, warning us to stop stirring up trouble. But we couldn't. It was our mystery, our monster. By August, we were obsessed but fraying. Malik stopped sleeping, Zoe's grades slipped, and I kept seeing the shadow in my dreams, standing in my room. We decided on one last hunt, August 20th, the night before school started. We went to the basement, a damp maze of storage units and boilers where tenants swore they'd seen the faceless man. The air was heavy, the hum louder. We found it by the furnace, taller than ever, its faceless void staring through us. We screamed, ran, and it was gone, like always. But this time, we found something. A faded photo in a storage box, showing a man in a security uniform, tall and thin, who died in the building in 1995. We dug deeper, sneaking into Ms. Ross's office, finding old tenant records. The man, Samuel Green, was a night guard, found dead in the basement, cause unknown. Tenants said he'd patrol the halls, silent, his face blank in the dark. We realized the faceless man was him, his spirit tied to Crestview, watching us like he'd watched the building. We stopped hunting. The Shadow Chasers were done. We never saw it again, but I still feel it sometimes. A cold spot in my apartment, a shadow in the mirror. Crestview taught me some things don't want to be found. If you've chased a shadow or seen the faceless man, share your story below. Hit like and subscribe for more real horrors that linger. I'm Isaiah, and I'm still looking over my shoulder. Blog post dated April 17th, 2025 by Isaiah Carter. I'm 34 now, with a desk job and a mortgage, but some nights I'm still that scared 12-year-old. Running through the halls of Crestview apartments, chasing a shadow that shouldn't exist. In 2003, my friends and I thought we were ghost hunters, but we found something real, something that still haunts me. This is my story, and if you've ever seen something you can't explain, stick around. Crestview was a crumbling brick complex in Chicago, all flickering lights and peeling paint, where kids like me, Zoe Patel, and Malik Jones ruled the halls. We were the kings of summer, biking through courtyards, sneaking onto rooftops, and swapping stories about the faceless man. Everyone said a tall, faceless figure haunted the stairwells and hallways, a shadow that watched but never spoke. Ms. Evelyn Ross, the building manager, called it nonsense, but even she locked her office at dusk. We were hooked. Zoe, the brains, rigged a clunky camcorder with duct tape. Malik, the daredevil, carried a baseball bat just in case. I was the planner, mapping out the building's maze of stairs and laundry rooms. We called ourselves the Shadow Chasers, meeting in my family's cramped living room, plotting our hunt. The adults laughed, but we saw their eyes dart to the stairwell, their steps quicken after dark. Crestview wasn't just old, it was alive, its walls humming with secrets we were too young to understand. Our first hunt was July 10th, 2003. We waited until 10 p.m., when the building settled into a restless quiet. Armed with flashlights and Zoe's camcorder, we crept to the 7th floor, where the lights always flickered. The air was thick, like the building was holding its breath. We turned a corner and froze. A tall, faceless figure stood at the end of the stairwell, motionless, its silhouette sharp against the dim bulb. It was over 6 feet, its body thin, no eyes, no mouth, just a void where a face should be. My heart slammed against my ribs. Zoe's camcorder shook, and Malik's bat clattered to the floor. We screamed, our voices echoing, and bolted down the stairs, the figure vanishing as we ran. We didn't stop until we reached my apartment, slamming the door, gasping. My mom thought we'd been mugged, but we couldn't explain, just babbled about the shadow. She checked the stairwell, found nothing, and grounded me for a week. But we knew what we saw. The camcorder caught only static, like the figure erased itself. We were terrified, but kids are stubborn. We had to go back. The Shadow Chasers didn't quit. Every few nights we'd sneak out, hearts pounding, searching for the faceless man. It appeared again and again, always in stairwells or dark corners, always still, always gone when we screamed. Each time the air grew colder, the lights dimmer, like the building was part of it. Zoe swore it was a ghost, Malik thought it was an alien, and I just wanted answers. We started noticing things. Scratches on stairwell walls, a hum in the air before it appeared. Ms. Ross caught us once, her face pale, warning us to stop stirring up trouble. But we couldn't. It was our mystery, our monster. By August, we were obsessed but fraying. Malik stopped sleeping, Zoe's grades slipped, and I kept seeing the shadow in my dreams, standing in my room. We decided on one last hunt, August 20th, the night before school started. We went to the basement, a damp maze of storage units and boilers where tenants swore they'd seen the faceless man. The air was heavy, the hum louder. We found it by the furnace, taller than ever, its faceless void staring through us. We screamed, ran, and it was gone, like always. But this time, we found something. A faded photo in a storage box, showing a man in a security uniform, tall and thin, who died in the building in 1995. We dug deeper, sneaking into Ms. Ross's office, finding old tenant records. The man, Samuel Green, was a night guard, found dead in the basement, cause unknown. Tenants said he'd patrol the halls, silent, his face blank in the dark. We realized the faceless man was him, his spirit tied to Crestview, watching us like he'd watched the building. We stopped hunting. The Shadow Chasers were done. We never saw it again, but I still feel it sometimes. A cold spot in my apartment, a shadow in the mirror. Crestview taught me some things don't want to be found. If you've chased a shadow or seen the faceless man, share your story below. Hit like and subscribe for more real horrors that linger. I'm Isaiah, and I'm still looking over my shoulder. The fifth-floor apartment in the heart of Willow Bend was Riley Morgan's sanctuary, its wide windows offering a view of the sleepy town's twinkling lights. A 30-year-old bookstore clerk, Riley had moved here after a messy breakup, craving the solitude of this quiet corner of the world. At midnight, with a storm brewing outside, she curled up on the couch, the TV's glow casting soft shadows across the room. But a faint tap on the window jolted her, an impossible sound from 5 stories up. Her heart skipped, the cozy warmth of the apartment dissolving into a creeping dread. Riley wasn't one to spook easily. She'd grown up in Willow Bend, a place where everyone knew each other, and her apartment's height felt like a shield against the world. Yet, the tap came again, deliberate, unnervingly close. She muted the TV, her pulse quickening, and edged toward the window, the storm's howl masking any other sounds. There, pressed against the glass, was a man in a white mask, his eyes dark voids, a knife glinting in his hand, staring directly at her. Riley's breath caught, terror rooting her in place. Riley's knees buckled as she stumbled back, her eyes locked on the masked figure. He tapped the glass again, the sound sharp, his gaze unyielding, cold as the steel in his hand. The mask was smooth, almost porcelain, but etched with faint, jagged lines like scars from some forgotten ritual. She dove behind the sofa, her breath ragged, praying he couldn't see her through the curtains. The tapping grew rhythmic, a taunt that echoed in the silent apartment, each strike tightening the knot in her chest. Her mind raced. How was he there, 5 floors up? The fire escape was locked, the balcony inaccessible without a key. She noticed a detail, a small, rusted key, hanging from his belt, glinting in the storm's lightning. It looked eerily like the one she'd found in the apartment's storage closet, left by the previous tenant. Was he connected to this place, to her? Riley's fear deepened, the encounter feeling personal, not random. The tapping stopped, but the silence was worse, heavy with the promise of his presence. Riley's hands shook as she crawled to her phone, the screen's glow a lifeline in the dark. She dialed 911, whispering her address, her voice trembling as the operator urged her to stay calm. The tapping resumed, now a slow, deliberate scrape, the knife testing the window's edge. Riley's heart pounded. The apartment no longer a haven but a trap. She clutched a kitchen knife, its weight a frail defense against the figure outside, his shadow looming larger in the storm's flashes. A sudden thud shook the balcony door, the man now prying at the lock, the glass rattling under his force. Riley stifled a scream, her eyes darting to the fire escape. Impossible. Yet he was there. Sirens wailed in the distance, closer than she'd hoped. The man froze, then vanished into the night, leaving no trace but a faint scratch on the glass. Police flooded the apartment, finding nothing but Riley's terror. The key's image burned into her mind. Riley barely slept, the apartment's walls closing in. She lived in fear, checking windows obsessively, the masked man's eyes haunting her every moment. The police found no evidence, but Riley couldn't shake the key's significance. She dug into the building's history, uncovering a chilling lead. The previous tenant, a reclusive man, had vanished after reports of stalking. Neighbors his apartment left with that same rusted key. A local news archive mentioned a series of unsolved break-ins, the suspect described as wearing a white mask. Never caught. The realization hit hard. The man might have been targeting Riley specifically, perhaps linked to her ex, who'd once lived in Willow Bend and had a murky past. Riley never felt safe again. Her trust in her quiet town shattered. She installed cameras, moved to a new place, but the fear lingered, especially at night, when a faint tap would jolt her awake. Was he still out there watching? The mask, the key, the knife. They were pieces of a nightmare she'd never escape. Text message thread, Owen Brooks to Jared Klein, August 15th, 2017, 2:03 a.m. Owen, yo, Jared, you awake? I need to tell someone this or I'm gonna lose it. Jared, dude, it's 2 a.m. What's up? Owen, it's Lila, Ava's little sister. She's not right. Something's off, man. Like, creepy off. I don't even know how to explain it. Jared, what, like she's acting weird? Kids are weird. Owen, no, it's more than that. I'll type it out, but don't laugh, okay? This is freaking me out. I'm Owen Brooks, 25, living in a small apartment in Denver with my girlfriend, Ava Mitchell. We've been together 2 years, and her sister, Lila, lives with us. Lila's 10, a quiet kid, always drawing or reading. She's sweet, but there's this shadow over her, like she's carrying something heavy. Ava's super protective. Says Lila's been through a lot, but she never gives details. I didn't push. Family stuff, you know. But after last month, I can't ignore it anymore. It started in July. I was up late, working on some graphic design gigs, Ava asleep in our room. Lila's room is down the hall, door always cracked. Around midnight, I heard singing, soft like a lullaby, but wrong. Too slow, too old. I figured Lila was messing around, maybe watching YouTube. I went to check, and there she was, sitting on her bed in the dark. Lila was stuck singing an old nursery rhyme, her eyes blank like she wasn't there. Her voice was flat, mechanical, singing "Hush Little Baby," a song I hadn't heard since I was a kid. Her hands were folded, unmoving. Her face, empty, like a doll's. I froze, my skin crawling. "Lila?" I whispered. No response. I tried talking to her, but she didn't answer, didn't even blink. I shook her gently, and she snapped out of it, looking confused. "What's wrong, Owen?" she asked, like nothing happened. She didn't remember singing or sitting there. I told her to go to sleep, my heart racing, and went back to my laptop, pretending it was a one-off. But it wasn't. It happened again. Then again, always at night. Lila would sing those creepy songs, her eyes hollow, like her mind was somewhere else. Sometimes it was "Ring Around the Rosie," sometimes "Mary Had a Little Lamb," always in that dead, slow voice. I'd find her in her room or once in the living room, just standing, staring at nothing. I'd try to snap her out, but she never remembered. Ava caught me freaking out once, her face tight. "She's fine, Owen. It's just her thing." But her voice shook, and I knew she was hiding something. I started paying attention, watching. Lila during the day, she was normal, school, homework, giggling at cartoons. But there were moments, tiny ones, where she'd pause, her eyes glazing over like she was slipping away. I asked Ava about it, gently at first. "Is Lila okay?" "She's doing that singing thing a lot." Ava got defensive, saying it was stress, that Lila had a rough childhood. She said Lila went through something traumatic years ago, something that messed with her head. But she wouldn't say what, just shut down, leaving me in the dark. I couldn't let it go. I started Googling dissociation, PTSD, even possession. Though I felt stupid typing it, nothing fit perfectly. I talked to Jared, who suggested a therapist, but Ava wouldn't hear it. "Lila's been through enough," she snapped. I checked Lila's room when she was at school, feeling like a creep. I found drawings under her. Bed, stick figures, a house, a woman with no face, all in black crayon. One had "Don't Tell" scrawled across it. My stomach churned. What happened to her? Last week it got worse. I found Lila in the kitchen at 3 a.m. singing Twinkle, Twinkle Little Star, her eyes empty, a knife in her hand. I yelled, and she dropped it, waking up, crying, clueless. I told Ava we had to do something, but she just held Lila, whispering, "It's okay, baby." I'm scared, Jared. Not just for Lila, but of her. What if it's not just trauma? What if it's something else? I hear those songs in my head now, even when she's not singing. Jared, dude, that's messed up. You gotta talk to Ava, get the full story, or get Lila help. Owen, I know, I'm trying, but Ava's like a wall and I don't want to push too hard. I love her, man, but this is too much. Jared, if it's supernatural, I'm out. But seriously, be careful. Keep me posted. Owen, yeah, I will. Thanks for listening. I just needed to get this out. I'm still here, living with this, watching Lila, waiting for the next time she slips. If you've dealt with something like this, a kid acting wrong, a secret you can't crack, share it in the comments. Like and subscribe for more stories that keep you up at night. I'm Owen, and I don't know what's real anymore. The old farmhouse on the edge of Raven's Hollow stood alone, its weathered boards creaking under the weight of decades. Avery Quinn, a 34-year-old carpenter, had bought the place a year ago, seeking peace after years in the city. The forest. Behind the house, a tangle of pines and thorns stretched into the horizon, its depths untouched by the nearby village. At midnight, as Avery gazed out the kitchen window, a flicker of movement caught her eye. A tall, unnatural shape shifting among the trees. The night was still, the silence heavy, yet the forest seemed to hum with a presence that made her skin crawl. Avery was practical, not one for ghost stories. The villagers' tales of the Watcher in Raven's Hollow, some creature tied to the land, had seemed like quaint folklore. But tonight the air felt charged, the forest's shadows too alive. She flicked on the porch light, its beam barely piercing the dark, and leaned closer to the glass. The movement stopped, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger, as if something in the woods knew her name. Avery's pulse quickened as she stared into the dark, her breath fogging the window. There it was, a towering, gaunt figure, its gray skin almost translucent, its eyes glowing like embers in the night. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, as if defying the laws of flesh and bone. She froze, her mind grappling with the impossible. The creature's gaze locked onto hers, piercing through the glass as if it knew she was there. Her hands trembled, the farmhouse's walls no longer a barrier but a cage. She noticed a faint carving on a tree near the creature, a crude, claw-like mark, unlike any animal's. The village elders had spoken of a gach rung, a guardian, spirit punishing those who trespassed too deep. Was this it, or something else? Avery's fear deepened, the creature's presence feeling ancient, tied to the land itself. The forest's hum grew louder, a low vibration that shook her core, as if the woods were alive, watching back. Avery's heart pounded as she backed away from the window. She bolted to the living room, crouching low, her breath shallow, praying the locked doors would hold. The creature's eyes haunted her, their glow burned into her mind. She grabbed her phone, dialing a friend, her voice shaking as she described the thing outside. Her friend, skeptical, urged her to stay calm, but Avery's fear was primal, unshakable. A faint scrape echoed from the backyard, the creature circling closer, its presence a weight in the air. At dawn, Avery ventured out, her nerves frayed. She found strange footprints near the fence, long, clawed, unlike any creature she knew. A local historian later shared a chilling tale. Centuries ago, a settler's betrayal had cursed Raven's Hollow, summoning a guardian to haunt the forest. Was the creature tied to this curse, or was it something older, awakened by her presence? The realization struck Avery. She'd bought the farmhouse on land marked by blood, and the creature might see her as an intruder. Avery's life changed that night. She lived in fear, avoiding the forest, the creature's eyes a constant shadow. In her mind, she researched the curse, finding stories of others who'd seen the guardian, always at night, always alone. The claw marks appeared again, closer to the house, as if the creature was marking its territory. Avery never ventured out after dark, her peace shattered, wondering if she'd imagined it or seen something real. She installed floodlights, kept a bat by the door, and joined a local group studying Raven's Hollow's myths. The forest became a forbidden place, its secrets too vast to unravel. Sometimes she'd hear a faint scrape, the sound real or imagined, she couldn't tell. Was the creature still watching, bound to the curse? The marks, the eyes, the hum. They were pieces of a mystery she might never solve. A reminder that some lands hold their own keepers. This is Wyatt Larson calling in from Willow Creek. I'm no regular on your show, but I've got a story you need to hear. Me and my buddy Cole Bennett went camping last weekend, and we saw something in the woods. Something that's got me questioning everything. If you're planning a trip to Willow Creek Forest, don't. Just don't. Here's what happened. I'm Wyatt, 22, a mechanic from Bozeman. Cole's my best friend, a carpenter, same age, always up for an adventure. We'd been planning a camping trip for months, wanting to escape the grind. Just us, some beers, in the wild. Willow Creek Forest seemed perfect. Miles of pines, a quiet lake, no cell service to bug us. We'd heard rumors about the place, old-timers at the diner talking about weird lights or missing hikers, but we brushed it off. Montana's full of stories, right? We packed our truck, rented a cabin by the lake, and headed out on August 15, 2014, ready for a good time. The first day was great, fishing, grilling burgers, laughing under the stars. The forest was peaceful, all birdsong and breeze, the kind of place that makes you feel small but alive. We set up in a small cabin, just a bed, a stove, and a creaky porch, surrounded by trees that seemed to lean in after dark. That night we stayed up late, swapping stories by the fire, the lake glinting under the moon. Around 11 p.m., Cole wanted to hike to a ridge for a better view of the stars. I wasn't thrilled, night hiking's risky, but Cole's stubborn, so I grabbed my flashlight and followed. The forest at night was different, heavy, like it was watching. We trudged through pines, our flashlights cutting narrow beams, the air sharp with sap and earth. About a mile in, I felt it, a prickle on my neck like we weren't alone. Cole felt it too, his chatter dying, his flashlight darting. "You hear that?" I whispered. No answer, just silence, the kind that presses on your chest. Then, maybe 30 yards away, we saw it, a white, tall creature moving fast between the trees. Its skin was pale as bone, gnarled limbs too long, no face, just a smooth, eyeless void. It darted, not running but gliding, its movements wrong, like a puppet on strings. We froze, hearts pounding, our flashlights shaking. "What the hell is that?" Cole hissed. I couldn't speak, my throat tight. It stopped, turning toward us, its blank face somehow seeing. We didn't wait, bolted back to the trail, branches snapping, our breaths ragged. We made it to the cabin, slamming the door, locking it, our gear scattered. "It was a bear," Cole panted, but his eyes said. He didn't believe it, I didn't either. That thing wasn't an animal. We tried to calm down, chugging water, checking the windows. The cabin felt like a trap, its walls too thin. Around 2 a.m., it got worse. We heard thumps on the roof, heavy, like something big was up there. Then, scratching, slow and deliberate, claws raking the shingles. We looked out and saw it, the creature crouched on the roof, its white skin glowing under the moon, staring down. Its limbs twisted, head tilted, like it was studying us. We ducked, grabbing a hunting knife and a tire iron, huddling by the stove, whispering prayers neither of us believed in. The scratching stopped at dawn, and when we checked, it was gone. No tracks, no marks, just silence. We packed and left, tires spitting gravel, not speaking until Bozeman. At a gas station, we met Ms. Ruth Harper, an old local who overheard us. She went pale, muttering about the pale stalker, a white creature haunting Willow Creek for decades. Hunters saw it in the 80s, campers in the 90s, always at night, always gone by morning. Some say it's a spirit, others a cryptid, but Ruth said, it picks who it wants. We haven't gone back. I see that white face in my dreams. Hear those scratches. If you've seen the pale stalker, tell us below. Like and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you out of the woods. I'm Wyatt, and I'm done with camping. In the shadow of the Carpathian foothills, the village of Lisivka clung to its traditions, its wooden cottages glowing under a harvest moon. Summer evenings buzzed with children's laughter, but whispers of the chort, a demon of local lore, kept them close to home after dark. Olena, a fearless 12-year-old with a knack for storytelling, rallied her friends, Taras, Yana, and Dimitro, for a daring plan to hunt the chort in the forest beyond the village. Armed with flashlights and homemade spears, they slipped out at midnight, their hearts pounding with excitement, ready to face the unknown. The forest loomed, its ancient trees whispering secrets older than Lisivka itself. The group was tight-knit, bound by summers spent exploring Lisivka's fields. Olena, the leader, believed the chort was real, fueled by her grandmother's tales of a shadow that stole breath from the unwary. Duras, the skeptic, tagged along for the thrill, while Yana, the artist, hoped to sketch the creature. Dimitro, the youngest at 10, clung to his sister Olena, his courage wavering. As they crossed the village's edge, the forest's silence swallowed. Their chatter, the air thick with an unseen presence as if Lisivka's myths were waking. The forest closed around them, its branches clawing at the moonlight. A strange whispering filled the air, like voices too faint to understand, weaving through the trees. Olena gripped her flashlight, its beam trembling as the group pushed deeper. Taras joked to ease the tension, but his voice faltered when they saw it. A towering black shadow, its red eyes glowing like coals gliding silently between the pines. The children froze, their bravado crumbling. The figure was impossibly tall, its form shifting as if made of smoke, its gaze heavy with malice. Yana clutched her sketchbook, her hands shaking too much to draw. The whispers grew louder, now a chorus, of disjointed words, warnings, pleas, or something darker. Olena noticed a stone marker half buried in the dirt, etched with a spiral symbol, worn by time. Her grandmother had mentioned such markers, tied to a forgotten ritual that bound the chort to Lisivka's land. Was this creature the demon, or something older? The forest felt alive, its roots pulsing with a rhythm that matched their racing. Hearts, urging them to flee. Panic gripped the group as the whispers turned to a low growl. In the chaos, Dimitro vanished, his flashlight flickering out near a gnarled oak. Olena screamed his name, her voice swallowed by the forest. They found him minutes later, trembling, his eyes wide with terror. He stammered that the chort had stood before him, its red eyes pulling at his mind as if trying to drag him into the dark. The oak bore scorch marks, fresh and unnatural, its roots twisting like veins. The children bolted, their feet pounding as they fled back to Lisivka, the Chorts, shadow flickering in the distance. They stumbled into the village gasping, but later found eerie traces, burned patches and clawed footprints near the forest's edge. Olena's research uncovered a chilling truth. Lisivka's founders had sealed a pact with a forest spirit, offering tribute to keep it at bay. The ritual had been abandoned, and the Chort was waking. The realization hit hard. Their hunt had stirred an ancient force, and the children had become its prey. The hunt changed Lisivka's children. They lived in fear, haunted by the Chort's eyes, convinced it watched them still. At night, Olena and Dimitro heard whispers through their windows, faint but unmistakable, calling their names. The village elders, shaken by the children's tale, revived old rituals, burning herbs at the forest's edge to appease the spirit. Olena dug into Lisivka's archives, finding tales of others who'd faced the Chort, their lives marked by its gaze. The spiral markers, she learned, were seals meant to bind the entity, seals now weakening. The group grew closer, their bond forged in terror, but the forest remained forbidden. They shared their story with a folklorist, hoping to understand the Chort's nature. The whispers lingered, a reminder that some truths were better left buried. Was the Chort still out there, waiting for another misstep? The markers, the burns, the eyes, they were fragments of a mystery too deep to solve. A lesson that courage could awaken forces no child should face. My name's Gavin Reed, 33, from Asheville, North Carolina. I'm recording this because I saw something tonight, something I can't explain, and it's not the first time. It's like a ghost of myself, a copy, and it's been haunting me since I was a kid. If you've ever seen your own face staring back, not in a mirror, you'll get why I'm shaking. This started 13 years ago, and it's back. Here's my story. Back in 2005, I was 20, living with my brother Milo, 15, in our parents' house. A split level in the suburbs, all quiet lawns and cul-de-sacs. Milo was a skinny kid, always sketching comics, while I was working odd jobs, saving for college. We were close, stayed up late playing Xbox or sneaking beers from Dad's fridge. The house felt safe, normal, until one night changed everything. It was June, hot even at midnight, the kind of sticky air that clings to your skin. We were in the basement watching horror flicks, the windows open to catch a breeze. Around 1 a.m., Milo paused the movie, his face pale. "Gav, you see that?" he whispered, pointing to the window. I looked and my blood ran cold. Outside in the backyard, two figures stood, exact copies of me and Milo, staring into the house. They wore our clothes, my red hoodie, Milo's Green Day tee. But their eyes were wrong, empty like black glass. They didn't move, just stood, hands limp, faces blank but somehow watching us. My heart hammered. Milo's breath hitched. "What the hell?" I choked out. We scrambled upstairs, locking every door, checking windows, our hands shaking. We grabbed a baseball bat, huddled in the living room, peeking through the blinds. The copies were still there, motionless until just before dawn, when they vanished, leaving no trace, no footprints, no bent grass. We didn't sleep, didn't talk about it after, like saying it out loud would make it real. Mom and Dad thought we were pranking, so we let it drop. But Milo started locking his door, and I stopped going into the backyard at night. Life moved on. I got married to Nora Pierce, a nurse, in 2012. Milo moved to Seattle, became a graphic designer. We didn't mention that night, but it stuck, a splinter in my mind. I'd catch myself checking mirrors, half expecting someone else's face. Nora noticed I'd get jumpy at night, but I brushed it off. "Work stress," I said. Our house in Asheville was cozy, a fixer-upper with creaky floors. The kind of place you build a life in. I thought I'd left that fear behind. I was wrong. Last night, October 11th, 2018, it happened again. Nora was working a night shift and I was home alone, reading in bed. Around midnight, I heard a tap on the bedroom window, soft but deliberate. My stomach dropped. I pulled the curtain, and there it was, my doppelganger, standing outside, staring through the glass with those dead eyes. Same jeans, same flannel shirt, but its face was a mask. No warmth, no life. I stumbled back, my book hitting the floor, my breath shallow. I grabbed my phone, called Nora, but she was in surgery. I locked the bedroom door, sat against it, listening for movement. By dawn, it was gone, no sign it was ever there. I called Milo today, first time in months. He went quiet when I told him. I saw mine too, he admitted, voice low. Last year, outside my apartment. Didn't want to scare you. We don't know what they are. Ghosts, omens, something worse. I've read about doppelgangers, how they're bad luck, how they steal your life. I don't know if I believe it, but I feel it like a weight on my chest. Nora thinks I'm stressed, but I see her watching me, worried. I check the windows every night now, waiting. If you've seen your double, your shadow self, share it below. Like and subscribe for more stories that make you question who's watching. I'm Gavin, and I don't trust my own face anymore. Hey RR No Sleep. I'm Elise Warner, 31, from Phoenix, Arizona. I've never posted here, but I'm freaking out, and I need to know if anyone's experienced this. I'm not tech savvy, just a regular person who likes scrolling TikTok to unwind. But last week something happened that's got me questioning everything. My phone, my privacy, maybe my sanity. If you use TikTok late at night, be careful. Something might be listening. Here's what went down. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment. All cacti and sun-bleached walls, the kind of place that feels safe at night. I'm a graphic designer, work from home, and TikTok's my guilty pleasure. Dance videos, cooking, hacks, you name it. On July 27th, I was up late, maybe 1 a.m., sprawled on my couch, scrolling through videos. The apartment was quiet, just the hum of my AC. I had earbuds in, volume low, watching some ASMR cooking clip. Then out of nowhere, I heard heavy breathing and chewing sounds through my phone's speakers, even though the video had no audio like that. It was wet, deliberate, like someone eating right next to a mic, their breath ragged and close. I yanked out my earbuds, heart racing. The video was still playing, a silent chopping montage. I paused it. Silence. I closed TikTok, but the breathing kept going, now mixed with a faint crunch, like someone biting into an apple. I restarted my phone, thinking it was a glitch. Nothing. The sound stopped, but I was rattled, checking my locks, peering out my window into the dark parking lot. I told my friend Riley Voss the next day, and she laughed, saying maybe I'd left a creepy video open. But I hadn't. It happened again 2 nights later. Same setup, late night, TikTok, earbuds. This time I checked my phone's settings, ran. A virus scan found no malware, but the breathing and chewing came back. Louder, almost angry. I recorded it with another device, and the audio was clear. Inhales, exhales, smacking lips, no source. I uninstalled TikTok, deleted my cache, even reset my Wi-Fi router, no dice. It felt like someone was watching me through the phone, their presence heavy, invasive. I stopped sleeping, kept my phone off at night, used my laptop instead. But the 3rd night, it happened again, even with TikTok gone. I called Riley, who's into cybersecurity, and she checked my phone remotely. No hacks, no weird apps, nothing. She suggested I get a new phone, so I did. A cheap Android, fresh out of the box. The sound stopped. I reinstalled TikTok, hesitant, but no issues since. Still, I'm haunted. Those noises weren't random. They felt alive, like someone or something was on the other end, listening, eating, waiting. I don't know if it was a hack, a glitch, or worse. Now I tape my phone's camera at night, keep it in another room. If you've heard something like this on TikTok, comment below. Upvote if you're as freaked out as me. I'm Elise, and I'm never scrolling alone again. The sprawling farmhouse in Willow Creek, nestled among rolling hills, was a dream come true for Nathan Carter. A 32-year-old architect, he'd moved in with his new wife, Elise, eager to start their life in her family's ancestral home. The house, with its creaking floors and stained glass windows, exuded charm, though its age whispered of secrets. That first night, as Nathan lay awake, he heard faint footsteps echoing from the attic, steady and deliberate, though no one was up. There, the sound faded, but a chill lingered. The house's warmth suddenly brittle. Elise had grown up in the house, her stories of childhood games in its halls painting a cozy picture. Yet, she'd avoided mentioning its quirks, the odd creaks, the cold spots. Nathan, ever rational, chalked the footsteps up to settling beams, but the house felt alive, its shadows too heavy for an empty attic. As moonlight spilled through the curtains, he noticed a faint mark on the bedroom wall. A spiral barely visible, as if scratched by a desperate hand. Something about it unnerved him, a warning he couldn't yet read. The next few weeks tested Nathan's skepticism. He caught glimpses of a shadowy figure darting across the hallway, gone when he turned to look. Objects shifted inexplicably, a book falling from a shelf, a cup sliding across the table. Elise dismissed it as the house's character, but her eyes betrayed unease. One night, Nathan woke to whispers calling his name, soft but unmistakable, seeping from the walls. His heart raced, the voice neither Elise's nor his own. He checked every room, finding nothing but the spiral mark, now deeper, as if carved anew. Elise finally shared the house's past. Her great-aunt had died there decades ago, under mysterious circumstances, her death hushed by the family. Nathan began noticing patterns. The footsteps followed a path to the attic. The shadows lingered near the staircase. He found an old photo in the study, showing the great-aunt beside a man with haunted eyes, a spiral pendant around her neck. Was the house tied to her death, or something older? Nathan's rational mind wavered, the line between reality and paranoia, blurring as the house's grip tightened. One stormy night, the house turned hostile. Nathan saw a figure standing in the bedroom corner, its silhouette sharp, unmoving, watching him. He blinked and it was gone, but his skin crawled, the air thick with malice. The footsteps grew louder, now pacing directly above, shaking dust from the ceiling. Elise, pale, admitted she'd heard them too, her childhood fears resurfacing. Driven by desperation, Nathan ventured to the basement, where he found a dusty journal hidden behind a loose brick, its pages detailing a family tragedy. The journal, written by Elise's great-aunt, revealed a chilling secret, a ritual gone wrong, meant to protect the family but binding a vengeful spirit to the house. The spiral was its mark, a seal now weakening. The realization struck Nathan. The spirit wasn't just haunting, it was tied to Elise's bloodline, and their presence was fueling its power. The whispers returned, louder, chanting both their names, as if the house itself was alive, demanding a reckoning for sins long buried. Nathan and Elise couldn't stay. They packed their bags and left, the house's shadows clinging to their minds. A local historian confirmed the journal's tale, linking the ritual to a betrayal in the family's past, its consequences lingering in the land. Even in their new home, Nathan felt haunted. hearing faint footsteps in quiet moments, seeing spirals in his dreams. Elise, shaken, vowed to uncover her family's secrets, hoping to break the curse. The house stood empty, its windows dark, but Nathan wondered if the spirit had followed them. They installed alarms, burned sage, and clung to each other, their love a shield against the unknown. Sometimes, Nathan caught a whisper, a flicker of movement, too fleeting to be sure. Was the spirit still watching, bound to them forever? The journal, the spirals, the footsteps, they were threads of a mystery unresolved, a reminder that some homes hold more than memories. The modern townhouse in Maple Grove was Jenna Larson's fresh start. A 29-year-old graphic designer, she'd moved here with her newborn son Lucas, craving the quiet of small-town life. The house, with its sleek lines and cozy nursery, felt like a haven. One night, as Jenna rocked Lucas to sleep, a chilling cry crackled through the baby monitor, sharp and desperate. She froze, her heart racing. Lucas was cradled in her arms, his breathing soft and steady. The monitor's green light flickered, the cry growing louder, impossible. Jenna was no stranger to sleepless nights, her new role as a mother both joyful and exhausting. She'd set up the monitor for peace of mind, its hum a constant in the nursery. But this cry wasn't Lucas's. It was raw, tinged with a sorrow that pierced her core. She checked the monitor, its screen dark, yet the sound persisted. A faint scratch mark on the nursery wall caught her eye, shaped like a crude crescent, as if clawed by a tiny hand. The house, once warm, now felt watchful, its silence heavy with secrets. Jenna's hands trembled as she clutched Lucas, the monitor's cry fading into static. Then came a whisper, low and guttural, not a child's voice slithering through the speaker. Her pulse hammered, the nursery's warmth turning icy. She hugged Lucas tighter, fear rooting her to the spot, the air thick with an unseen presence. She tiptoed to the nursery, Lucas still in her arms, and found the room empty. The monitor's light pulsing erratically. The crescent mark seemed deeper now, its edges raw as if freshly scratched. Her mind raced. Faulty wiring, a prank, or something worse. She recalled a neighbor mentioning the house's previous owners, a family who'd left abruptly after a tragedy. The monitor's manual lay nearby, its pages inexplicably dog-eared, revealing a warning about interference from unknown sources. Was the house hiding a past, its walls holding echoes of grief? The whispers returned, now forming a name. Not Lucas's, but another, lost in static as if calling from beyond. Jenna's fear spiked as the monitor flared to life, its screen flashing despite being unplugged. The crying resumed, louder, though Lucas slept soundly in her arms. She yanked the device's cord, but the sound continued, now mixed with whispers chanting a name, Clara. Her breath hitched, the nursery's walls seeming to pulse. Desperate, Jenna searched online, uncovering a local article. A child named Clara had died in the house years ago, her mother consumed by grief, never speaking of the loss. The crescent mark matched a pendant Clara wore, its image in a faded photo. The realization chilled Jenna. The monitor wasn't malfunctioning, it was a conduit. Clara's spirit trapped in the house, her cries echoing through time. Jenna felt a tug at her heart, a mother's instinct to comfort, but also terror at what Clara's presence meant. The whispers grew urgent, as if Clara's grief was reaching for Lucas, seeking a connection or something darker. Jenna vowed to protect her son, the house no longer a home but a vessel for a lost soul. Jenna never used the monitor again, storing it in the attic, its silence uneasy. She lived in fear, sensing a presence watching, convinced Clara's spirit lingered. She and Lucas moved to a new house, but the memory of those cries haunted her. A local medium suggested Clara's spirit sought peace, tied to the pendant, which Jenna couldn't find. Jenna stayed vigilant, her love for Lucas a shield, but the fear never faded. She checked windows, kept lights on, always listening for that cry. Sometimes, in quiet moments, Jenna heard a faint whisper, a child's voice too soft to be sure. Was Clara still reaching out, or had Jenna's fear woven a new reality? The crescent, the cries, the name. They were fragments of a grief she couldn't resolve, a reminder that some homes hold echoes of those who never left. The twilight sky over rural Vermont burns with streaks of violet, casting an otherworldly glow on the dense forest that borders a small, weathered farmhouse. 12-year-old Owen, a boy with a boundless curiosity, spends his days wandering the woods near his home, sketching birds and collecting odd stones. He and his father Henry live at the forest's edge, where Henry often shares tales of strange encounters from his youth, moments in these woods that defy explanation. Owen hangs on every word, his imagination alight, though Henry's voice carries a warning edge, urging caution. The boy loves exploring the trails, but at night, the trees seem to whisper, filling him with dread. The forest feels alive after dark, its shadows shifting in ways that make Owen's skin prickle. Henry, a quiet carpenter, rarely speaks of his past, but his eyes grow distant when the wind howls through the pines, as if he's hearing something Owen can't. One evening, as they sit by the fire, Henry pauses mid-story, staring at the window where a branch taps like a finger. Owen notices a flicker of fear, rare for his stoic father, and asks what's wrong. Henry shakes his head, muttering about old ghosts. Owen's curiosity burns brighter, pushing him to venture deeper into the woods than ever before. He doesn't know it yet, but the forest is waiting for him, ready to show him a secret tied to his father's past, a secret that will change how he sees the world forever. The next afternoon, Owen slips into the forest, his sketchbook tucked under his arm, determined to uncover what his father fears. The trails are familiar, dappled with sunlight, but today the air feels thick, like a storm's brewing without clouds. Deeper in, where the pines grow tight, Owen spots it, a tall, shadowy figure, impossibly thin, standing motionless among the trees. Its edges blur, like smoke caught in human form, its shape too vague to define, yet undeniably there. Owen's breath catches, his pencil dropping as the figure shifts, its head turning toward him with no visible face. Then, in a heartbeat, it melts into the earth, leaving no trace, as if the ground swallowed it whole. His legs tremble, but curiosity battles fear. He steps closer, finding only disturbed soil, soft and unnaturally warm. Heart pounding, he bolts home, bursting through the door to tell Henry. His father's face pales, hands gripping the table. Henry's fear is raw, his voice sharp as he warns Owen never to go back. But Owen sees something in his father's eyes. Not just worry, but recognition, like he's seen that shadow before. The house feels smaller, the forest's presence pressing against the windows. That night, Owen hears a faint hum from the woods, not animal or wind, but something alive, calling. He clutches his sketchbook, where he's drawn the figure, its form now clearer with jagged lines like claws. The forest isn't just a place, it's a hunter, and Owen's crossed its path. Owen can't let it go, the shadow's form etched in his mind like a warning. At dinner, he presses Henry, his voice shaking but firm. Reluctantly, Henry shares a story from 20 years ago, when he was a teen wandering these same woods. He'd ventured too far, where the trees grew twisted, and there it was, a tall, faceless shadow. Watching him from a clearing, its presence heavy, wrong. Henry froze, his body screaming to run, and it vanished into the ground, leaving him gasping. He never returned to that spot, but strange things followed. Footsteps trailing him at night, soft but relentless, yet no one was there. He'd wake to scratches on his door, too precise for animals, and once, a whisper of his name from the dark. Henry's voice cracks, admitting he thought he'd escaped it. Until now. Owen's chest tightens. His father's fear mirrors his own. That night, Owen finds Henry staring at the forest, his hands clenched. "It knows you saw it," Henry mutters, almost to himself. Owen notices something new, a faint mark on the window, like a claw dragged slowly across glass. The hum from the woods grows louder, pulsing in his ears, and his sketchbook lies open, the figure's claws now drawn sharper as if it's drawing itself. The forest isn't just watching, it's closing in, and Owen wonders what it wants and why it's tied to his father's past. Owen heeds Henry's warning, steering clear of the forest, but its pull lingers, a constant weight on his heart. He hasn't gone back, but the fear clings, sharp and unyielding, waking him at night with the hum in his ears. The house feels like a cage, its walls too thin against the wood's gaze. Henry falls silent, refusing to share more, his eyes haunted by secrets he won't name. Owen watches him carve wood, each cut tense as if he's fighting something unseen. Years later, a neighbor, an old hunter, mentions seeing a tall shadow in those woods, melting into the earth, just like Owen described. The man's voice trembles, saying it wasn't human, wasn't animal, something older, tied to the land. Owen believes it's real, the memory too vivid to dismiss. He finds his old sketchbook, the figure's claws now smudged, as if touched by unseen hands. He shares this now, driven by the terror that never left. Researching, Owen uncovers tales of Vermont's earthwalkers, entities that guard sacred grounds, marking those who trespass. Did he and Henry stumble into their domain? The hum haunts his dreams, joined by whispers of his name, and once a shadow at his window, tall and wavering, gone when he blinks. Is it the same figure, still watching, or something new, drawn by their fear? Owen locks his doors, but the forest's call grows stronger, promising answers, or a trap waiting just beyond the trees. The street outside Chloe Dawson's Denver bungalow lay silent, the glow of Halloween pumpkins fading into ash as midnight passed. Inside, Chloe, a 30-year-old graphic designer, kicked off her witch's hat, her costume cape draped over a chair, and began tidying the living room. The party had been a blast. Friends in ghoulish outfits, a fog machine puffing clouds, and spooky tunes echoing through the house. Now, at 1 a.m., the quiet was jarring, broken only by the rustle of candy wrappers as she swept them into a bin. The air felt heavy, the windows rattling softly despite being locked, and a faint smell of smoke lingered, though no candles burned. Back when I was living alone, I decided to throw a Halloween party at my house. I invited a bunch of friends, decorated the place with spooky stuff, and we had a blast. Chloe's living room was a haunted masterpiece, plastic skulls on tables, cobwebs strung across the ceiling, and a playlist of howling winds. After everyone left, I was cleaning up the mess, solo because my friends were too tipsy to help. She stacked cups, the clock's tick growing louder, when a creak came from the basement stairs, sharp and deliberate. Around 1 a.m., I heard a noise downstairs like someone moving around. I figured it was a friend who forgot something and came back. "Anyone there?" she called, grabbing her phone's torch app, expecting a sheepish guest. Her steps echoed on the wooden floor as she descended, the darkness thicker than it should. But instead there's this guy standing in my living room. Not in costume, just regular clothes, old jacket, messy hair. He looked out of place like he didn't belong. Chloe's breath caught, her pulse spiking. He started talking, saying weird stuff like, "You know who I am," and "This isn't your house." His voice was raspy, his eyes glinting unnaturally, like glass catching moonlight. He was acting goofy, muttering to himself, almost like he was drunk or not all there mentally. She gripped her phone, backing toward the kitchen door. "Get out now," she demanded, her voice wavering. I told him to get out, but he just kept mumbling, pacing around. He gestured wildly, pointing at the walls, repeating, "This isn't your house," his words looping like a broken record. I called a couple of friends who lived nearby to come back and help me out. Chloe texted her friend Lucas, her fingers trembling. "Come back now." The man's mutters grew frantic, a chant of, "They're here, they're here," his gaze darting to the ceiling as if seeing something she couldn't. When Lucas's headlights flashed outside, he bolted out, the back door before they could get inside. Chloe locked it, her chest tight, as Lucas and two others burst in, shouting her name. The police arrived, their torches sweeping the backyard, but they couldn't find him, like he vanished into thin air. Chloe's hands shook as she led them through the house. I found a window in the basement wide open, even though I know I locked it before the party. The frame was smeared with a dark, oily residue, cold to the touch. I was freaked out, kept thinking he'd come back. We beefed up security after that. New locks, cameras, the works. Lucas stayed the night, but Chloe couldn't sleep. The man's words, "You know who I am," burning in her mind. The next morning, she found a note wedged in her mailbox, no stamp, scrawled in jagged ink. "They watch you." Her friends called it a prank, but the handwriting was alien, sharp, and unsteady. A neighbor, old Mrs. Hensley, overheard Chloe's panic and shared a chilling tale. The bungalow sat on land once owned by a 1970s cult, its members vanishing after raving about watchers from beyond. Their leader, a gaunt man with wild hair, was never found. His ravings etched in police reports. The notes multiplied, slipped under her door, in her purse, each more menacing. "They're inside. You called them." Chloe's lights flickered nightly, shadows stretching into tall, gaunt figures that vanished when she turned. Her phone glitched, playing a distorted voice. "We're home." At the library, she unearthed a 1970s article about the cult, detailing their rituals in her backyard, led by a man named Silas, who claimed spirits demanded hosts. His photo matched her intruder. Same hollow eyes, same matted hair. Lucas saw him too. A fleeting figure in Chloe's driveway, gone when they checked. The party's candy wrappers, left in a bin, appeared on her table, arranged in a spiral, pulsing with a faint red glow. Chloe's dreams turned dark, Silas leading her to a glowing pit, whispering, "They chose you." The disturbances grew. One evening, her TV blared static, Silas's face flickering, mouthing, "Stay." She unplugged it, but the screen stayed on, the wrappers now spelling hours. Chloe installed cameras, but they caught only shadows, tall, eyeless, circling her bed. Mrs. Hensley gave her a 1970s police sketch of Silas, his grin hauntingly familiar. The air in the house thickened, the smoke smell stronger, though nothing burned. Chloe found a rusted pendant under her couch, etched with a spiral, warm to the touch. Lucas stopped coming, his texts ceasing after one. "He's here." She called him, hearing only static and a chant. "They're waiting." The police found his car empty, a note inside. "Chloe next." On Halloween's anniversary, the house shook, the clock frozen at 1 a.m. Chloe's door rattled, the basement window creaking open, though bolted. A voice, not Silas's, but many, whispered, "You invited us." Her phone flashed Silas's photo, his eyes bleeding black, mouthing, "Join them." The living room filled with rappers, swirling into a red vortex, faces forming in the glow. Silas, Lucas, others, screaming, "Ours!" Chloe fled, but the street twisted, the bungalow's lights blazing despite cut power. She woke in her bed, alone, the pendant now around her neck, unremovable. The rappers were gone, but her mirrors showed Silas's grin, whispering, "Forever. Ours." Chloe left Denver, but the pendant pulsed, the voices following, claiming her as their own. Wow, what a ride. Those 16 stories, from ghostly knocks to faceless shadows, prove the world's a lot stranger than we think. I hope you're still with me, maybe checking over your shoulder. These tales aren't just chills, they're reminders that fear lurks in the places we feel safest, our homes, our phones, our own backyards. But here's the thing, this is just the beginning. There are more stories out there, darker, weirder, waiting to be told. What's hiding in your town? A creature in the woods? A stranger who knows too much? Subscribe now and join our community of night owls who crave the unknown. Drop a comment with your own creepy encounter. Trust me, we're all ears. Hit that bell so you don't miss the next batch of nightmares. They're coming, and they're not holding back. Thanks for braving the dark with me. Until next time, keep your lights on and your doors locked. You never know what's watching. See you in the shadows.